It was a day like any other aboard Horizon Station, humanity's farthest outpost, orbiting the lush planet Celestis. Dr. Ilanos, a xenobiologist, was preparing for a routine check on local wildlife when the station's alarms blared, announcing an unknown approaching vessel. The massive alien ship was unlike anything they'd seen, sleek and iridescent, shimmering with colors beyond the human spectrum. Commander Beck initiated first contact, and the crew prepared for communication, only to be greeted by musical, harmonious sounds that resonated through the station. Dr. Ilanos, with her background in studying alien species, deciphered the sounds. The visitors, calling themselves the Seraphim, were explorers, peaceful, but in a state of crisis. They needed help with a biological emergency on board their ship. Dr. Ilanos, stunned by the sheer magnitude of the situation, volunteered to assist the Seraphim. Their nurse, crucial to their species' mating cycle, had entered a dangerous frenzy. Understanding the biological rhythms of the Seraphim was crucial, and Ilanos suspected the frenzy was caused by the ship's environment being too far from the Seraphim's home planet's conditions. Determined, she embarked on a historic mission to board the alien vessel and help stabilize the Seraphim nurse. Inside the ship, she found an awe-inspiring organic architecture and bioluminescent walls. Guided by the Seraphim's harmonic tones, she made her way to the heart of their vessel and encountered the frenzied nurse. Dr. Ilanos, stunned by the sheer magnitude of the situation, volunteered to assist the Seraphim. Their nurse, crucial to their species' mating cycle, had entered a dangerous frenzy. Understanding the biological rhythms of the Seraphim was crucial, and Ilanos suspected the frenzy was caused by the ship's environment being too far from the Seraphim's home planet's conditions. Determined, she embarked on a historic mission to board the alien vessel and help stabilize the Seraphim nurse. Inside the ship, she found an awe-inspiring organic architecture and bioluminescent walls. Guided by the Seraphim's harmonic tones, she made her way to the heart of their vessel and encountered the frenzied nurse. Ilanos ventured deeper into the Seraphim ship, accompanied by a Seraphim named Teller, who explained their society's foundation on harmony and connectivity. They arrived at the memory chamber, a repository of ancestral memories stored in bioluminescent strands. Ilanos learned that the Seraphim didn't just learn history. They experienced it through these memory archives. Teller invited Ilanos to experience their collective memories, and she hesitantly agreed. Flooded with visions of Seraphim history, she witnessed their ancient worlds, their ventures into space, and their culture's joys and hardships. The experience left her overwhelmed but deeply moved by the richness of their lives. As Ilanos grew more attuned to the Seraphim culture, she found herself immersed in their customs and way of life. The once mysterious harmonies of the ship became a familiar background to her days, and the rhythm of its operation seemed to align with her heartbeat. However, just as she began to feel a sense of belonging, a sudden shift in the atmosphere set off alarm bells. The gentle hum of the ship's systems, which usually resonated with a harmonious melody, turned discordant. The change was subtle at first, like an off note in a symphony, but it quickly grew into a chaotic cacophony. Ilanos noticed Teller's form flickering erratically, an indicator of something wrong. Without wasting a moment, they rushed toward the control hub, a part of the ship Ilanos had yet to fully understand. The hub was unlike any control room she had seen before. Instead of rigid consoles and screens, it resembled the nervous system of a living organism, organic, pulsating with energy, and interconnected like the veins of a colossal creature. Every part of the ship seemed alive, and now that life was in danger. The core is destabilizing. Teller's voice echoed with urgency, their usual calm replaced by a rare hint of panic. If we don't contain it, the energy matrix will collapse. Ilanos felt the weight of the situation press down on her. This wasn't just a simple malfunction. This was a crisis that could tear the ship apart. The Seraphim were highly advanced, but even their technology had its limits, and right now they were nearing the brink. Without hesitation, Ilanos stepped forward. "I can help," she offered, the memory of her work with Horizon's energy systems flooding back into her mind. While the Seraphim's technology was leagues ahead of what she had known, the fundamentals of energy flow and containment still applied. Teller paused for a fraction of a second, scanning her with an intensity she hadn't felt before. In that moment, trust was built not through words, but through the shared urgency of survival. "Follow my lead," they said. Together, they worked at recalibrating the energy matrix. Teller directed her toward the ship's core, an enormous, pulsating sphere of light at the center of the control hub. Ilano's hands moved instinctively, adjusting containment fields and rerouting energy flows with precision. It was a delicate balance. One wrong move and the entire system could collapse. The ship trembled beneath their feet as the core's energy spiraled dangerously close to overload. Sweat dripped down Ilano's brow, but she stayed focused, trusting her instincts and Teller's guidance. Slowly, the chaotic energy stabilized, the flickering lights of the ship's systems returning to their harmonious glow. Finally, with one last adjustment, the core stabilized completely. The tension in the air dissolved, and the ship returned to its normal hum. Ilanos exhaled a breath she didn't realize she was holding, her body sagging with relief. "You did it," Teller said, their form regaining its usual calm as they floated beside her. There was a new respect in their voice, a recognition of her capabilities. "It was close," Ilanos replied, her heart still pounding in her chest. "But I couldn't have done it without you." Teller nodded, their expression unreadable but their tone filled with gratitude. "You've proven yourself more than capable, Ilanos, not just as a guest on this ship, but as one of us." But before the relief could fully settle, the ship's harmonies shifted once again. This time, it wasn't a warning of danger within, but a signal from outside. The crisis was far from over. Something, or someone, was approaching the Seraphim vessel, and it wasn't friendly. The air in the Seraphim ship, once thick with tension, now felt alive with a renewed sense of purpose. The crisis had been narrowly averted, but its aftermath left ripples throughout the vessel, particularly in how the Seraphim viewed Ilanos. She had done more than just stabilize the ship's core. She had proven that humanity could be trusted, even in the most perilous situations. As Ilanos stood in the heart of the ship's control hub, still catching her breath, the organic architecture seemed to hum in harmony once more. It was as if the ship itself was expressing gratitude, a subtle acknowledgement of her role in saving it from destruction. Teller hovered nearby, their usual calm demeanor now tinged with something more, a silent admiration. "You've done something no outsider has ever managed, Ilanos." Teller spoke, their voice softer, more personal than she had heard before. "You're no longer just a guest. You're one of us now." The weight of those words settled on Ilanos like a warm embrace. It was one thing to work alongside the Seraphim as a temporary ally, but to be regarded as one of them, a part of this magnificent ancient species, was something else entirely. She could sense the shift in the crew's attitude. The distant gazes, once laced with quiet suspicion or curiosity, were now filled with respect and acceptance. Ilanos couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Not only had she saved the ship, but she had also crossed a boundary few humans had ever approached, let alone breached. The Seraphim, who had long been isolated from the rest of the galaxy by their own choice, had let her in, not just physically, but emotionally, culturally. With the immediate crisis behind them, Teller guided Ilanos through parts of the ship she hadn't seen before. As they walked, Ilanos marveled at the intricate details of the vessel. It wasn't just a machine, as she had initially thought. The Seraphim's ship was alive in ways she was only now beginning to comprehend. The walls seemed to breathe with a gentle rhythm, and the faint pulse of energy coursing through the ship felt like the heartbeat of a living organism. "The ship," Teller began, as if reading her thoughts, "is not just a vessel for us. It is part of us. We do not command it as you might control one of your machines. We exist within it, thrive with it. The symbiosis is vital to both our survival and our way of life." Ilanos absorbed the explanation, her mind racing to understand the implications. The Seraphim weren't just passengers on their ship. They were an integral part of its living ecosystem. The ship's energy, its structural integrity, even its ability to function, depended on the Seraphim in ways that went far beyond what she had ever known about spacecraft. "It's like you're part of a single organism," Ilanos mused aloud. Teller nodded slowly. Precisely. The ship and the Seraphim are symbiotic. Our biology is intertwined with the vessel's systems. We heal it, and it sustains us. That is why the core destabilization was so dangerous. It threatened not just the ship, but all of us. As they continued their journey deeper into the ship, Teller showed her more. The crew quarters were not separate from the ship's structure, but blended seamlessly into it. Each chamber was grown, not built, with walls that shifted and adapted to the needs of the occupants. The living spaces pulsed with energy, creating a sense of tranquility and balance. Ilanos felt the weight of her position as a bridge between two species. She had always known that humanity had a long way to go in terms of understanding the broader galaxy, but seeing how the Seraphim lived deepened that understanding in ways she hadn't expected. Their technology wasn't just more advanced than humanity's. It was fundamentally different. It was alive, symbiotic, and completely integrated with their environment. In the days that followed, Ilanos found herself working more closely with the Seraphim crew. She began to study their systems more thoroughly, learning from Teller and others about how the ship functioned on both a biological and technological level. The more she learned, the more fascinated she became. One evening, after a long day of work, Ilanos sat with Teller in a communal chamber, where the soft glow of the ship's organic lighting cast a warm hue. They sat in silence for a while, the bond between them growing deeper with each passing day. Teller had become more than just a guide. They were a companion, someone Ilanos could rely on. "I didn't expect to feel so connected to all of this," Ilanos admitted after a moment. "It's overwhelming, but in the best way." Teller's form shifted slightly, a sign of quiet contemplation. That is the power of the Seraphim way. We do not isolate ourselves from the world around us. We become part of it. That is why it was difficult for some of the crew to accept you at first. But now... Ilanos smiled. "Now I'm part of it too." Teller turned to her, their gaze soft yet intense. "Yes, you are. And with that comes a responsibility." Ilanos nodded. She had felt it from the moment she stabilized the ship's core, the weight of what it meant to be part of this ecosystem, this culture. She wasn't just an observer anymore. She was a participant, and with that came the obligation to protect and preserve what she had come to value. "There's so much I want to learn," Ilanos said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "About your people, your technology, everything. I feel like I've only scratched the surface." "You will have time," Teller reassured her, "and we will teach you. But for now, we must prepare for what lies ahead." Ilanos' brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Teller's expression darkened ever so slightly. "The signal we intercepted before the core destabilized, it wasn't a random anomaly. Something is coming, Ilanos. Something that threatens both the Seraphim and humanity alike." A chill ran down Ilanos' spine. She had felt the ship tremble earlier, not just from the core's instability, but from something far more ominous. The bond she had formed with the Seraphim, the deeper understanding she had gained, was about to be tested in ways she could scarcely imagine. As Teller's words hung in the air, Ilanos felt the weight of her newfound position more than ever. She wasn't just a bridge between two species. She was a key player in a crisis that could shape the future of both humanity and the Seraphim. And whatever was coming, it was coming fast. Ilanos stood at the docking bay, her hand tracing the sleek, organic contours of the Seraphim ship as she prepared for departure. The weight of the moment pressed upon her, more profound than she could have anticipated. Her time aboard the Seraphim vessel had opened her eyes not only to their incredible technology, but to the boundless potential of what humanity could achieve through unity, compassion, and cooperation. Teller stood beside her, their ever-fluid forms slightly more defined, as if the weight of the conversation had shaped them into something more solid, more present. "Your contribution here has been immeasurable, Ilanos," Teller said, their voice carrying an unmistakable sincerity. "You've proven that humans are more than capable of understanding, of learning, and of becoming something greater than the galaxy has given them credit for." Ilanos smiled at the compliment, but her heart was conflicted. The bond she had formed with the Seraphim, particularly with Teller, had become something deeper than she had expected. In her mind, The invitation Teller had extended just hours ago echoed. A permanent place among the Seraphim, to work side by side, learn from their technology, and foster a deeper cooperation between their species. It was an opportunity that could open doors to untold knowledge, transforming not only her life, but the relationship between humanity and the Seraphim. "Do you really think that's possible?" she asked, turning to Teller, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and concern. That humans and Seraphim could form something lasting, something that could change the galaxy. Teller's fluid form shimmered in the dim light of the docking bay, their aura shifting into a pattern that exuded calm assurance. "The potential is there, Ilanos. You've shown us that. It is not our technology that sets us apart, but our willingness to trust, to adapt. That is what we've always lacked. A true partnership. Your presence here, your actions, have demonstrated that the bridge between our species is not only possible but essential." Ilanos felt the gravity of their words. The future, once a distant abstraction, was now a web of possibilities, all spinning out from this very moment. Her thoughts raced, bouncing between her duty to humanity and the promise of the unknown. She had always believed that humans, despite being underestimated by the galactic community, possessed a unique strength. It wasn't their firepower or their military might. It was their ingenuity, their ability to think outside the constraints of traditional galactic norms, and their capacity for empathy. But this? A chance to work with the Seraphim, to learn from their unique blend of biology and technology. The possibilities were endless. She could help humanity understand more than just the technical aspects of the Seraphim's world. She could unlock the mysteries of their philosophy, their way of life. It could change everything. Still, there was Earth, her home, her people. Could she really walk away from her responsibility to the Horizon Station, to the humans who had placed their trust in her? Ilanos had never been one to shy away from duty, but now the pull of discovery was almost overwhelming. As if sensing her turmoil, Teller stepped closer, their presence comforting yet non-intrusive. "You do not have to decide now," they said gently. "The offer stands, whether you choose to stay among the stars with us or return to your people. Either path holds promise." Ilanos met Teller's eyes, feeling a swell of gratitude for their understanding. "I know," she said, her voice steady despite the torrent of emotions. "But I also know that this decision will shape not just my future, but the future of both our species." Teller nodded, a subtle gesture that conveyed their deep respect for her struggle. "You've already begun shaping that future, Ilanos. Whatever choice you make, the foundation for cooperation has been laid. You have shown us what humanity is capable of." The docking bay hummed with the soft energy of the ship, its organic walls seeming to pulse in time with Ilanos' own heartbeat. She placed her hand once more on the ship's surface, feeling the warmth beneath her fingers, as if it were alive and aware of her presence. In the silence that followed, Ilanos thought back to her first moments aboard the Seraphim vessel. How alien it had felt, how distant the crew had seemed. Now standing here, she felt not like an outsider, but like a vital part of something much larger than herself. The Seraphim had trusted her, and in return, she had come to understand their world in ways no human ever had before. The bond they had formed wasn't just one of necessity or survival. It was one of mutual respect, of shared purpose. "I'll return," she said, her voice strong and clear. "But I need to go back to Horizon Station first. My people need to understand what we've built here. They need to see that there's another way forward, one that doesn't rely on conflict or isolation." Teller's form brightened subtly, a clear sign of their approval. "And when you do return, the Seraphim will welcome you with open arms. You will always have a place here, Ilanos." With a final nod, Ilanos boarded her small shuttle, her mind swirling with the enormity of what lay ahead. As the shuttle door closed and the engines powered up, she glanced back at the Seraphim ship one last time, a mixture of hope and excitement bubbling inside her. This was not the end of her journey with them. It was only the beginning. The shuttle lifted off, smoothly detaching from the organic docking bay and soaring into the stars. Ilanos watched as the Seraphim vessel faded into the distance, her thoughts already racing with plans for the future. What she had learned here could reshape the very fabric of humanity's place in the galaxy. For too long, humans had been viewed as outsiders, as newcomers to the galactic stage, often dismissed by more advanced civilizations. But now, with the Seraphim's trust and partnership, everything was about to change. She thought of Horizon Station and the people waiting for her return. How would they react to what she had discovered? Would they embrace this new relationship with the Seraphim, or would fear and distrust prevail? Ilanos knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she was determined to see it through. As her shuttle raced toward the distant lights of Horizon Station, Ilanos allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless civilizations, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. But in the end, it wasn't brute force or technological superiority that mattered most. It was the ability to connect, to understand, and to work together for a greater purpose. Humanity had proven its worth not through domination or destruction, but through ingenuity, compassion, and the power of cooperation. Ilanos knew that this was only the beginning of what could be a new era for both her people and the Seraphim. The future stretched out before her, a universe of possibilities waiting to be explored, and she was ready to face it head-on. Years had passed since Ilanos first stepped aboard the Seraphim vessel, forever altering the trajectory of human and Seraphim relations. What had begun as a chance encounter between two vastly different species had blossomed into a partnership that would redefine the galaxy itself. The Alliance of Horizon, as it came to be known, was no longer a concept limited to a few idealists and dreamers. It had grown into a powerful coalition of humans and Seraphim, united not by conquest or necessity, but by mutual respect and shared goals. Together, they had pioneered advancements that neither species could have achieved on their own. Humanity's ingenuity, combined with the Seraphim's biological symbiosis with technology, had led to breakthroughs in energy, medicine, and interstellar travel that had stunned even the most advanced civilizations. Ships now moved through the stars as living organisms, powered by a harmony of biology and mechanics. Diseases once thought incurable were eradicated, thanks to Seraphim biotechnology, and humanity's thirst for knowledge was finally quenched with a deeper understanding of the universe's mysteries. But beyond the technological marvels, the Alliance had fostered something even more significant: a shift in the galactic balance of power. No longer were humans seen as the galaxy's underdogs, dismissed by the larger and more established civilizations. They had earned their place at the galactic table, not through violence or domination, but through cooperation, wisdom, and the strength of their convictions. Ilanos, now a respected figure within both human and Seraphim societies, had become a symbol of this new era. Her work had paved the way for interspecies collaboration, and she had been instrumental in the formation of the Galactic Council of Unity, an organization designed to foster peace, cooperation, and shared innovation between all civilizations, not just humans and Seraphim. What had once been unimaginable, a true partnership between species, was now a reality that spanned star systems. The old prejudices, the skepticism and distrust that once defined galactic relations had begun to fade. While not everyone welcomed this new age with open arms, the majority saw the undeniable benefits of working together. The once fractured galaxy had found common ground, and a sense of unity had begun to take root. As for Ilanos herself, she had never forgotten her initial hesitation. She had returned to Horizon Station, sharing what she had learned and inspiring others to see beyond the limitations of fear and tradition. And while her heart was forever tied to humanity, a part of her had remained with the Seraphim, drawn to the deeper mysteries they embodied. She had never permanently joined their ranks, but she remained their closest ally and friend, a bridge between worlds. Teller, her Seraphim companion, had become a central figure in the Alliance as well, representing their species in the new Galactic Council. Their relationship with Ilanos had deepened over the years, built on trust and a shared vision for a better future. Together, they had led countless initiatives, from scientific collaborations to diplomatic efforts, ensuring that the bond between their species would endure for generations to come. The galaxy, once fragmented by division and isolation, now stood on the cusp of a golden age of discovery and peace. There were still challenges ahead, ancient rivalries, stubborn factions, and unknown threats lurking in the depths of space, but the foundation of unity had been laid. The spark of cooperation, ignited by a single human and a group of seraphim, now burned brightly across the stars. Ilanos, reflecting on all that had transpired, stood once more aboard a seraphim vessel, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. The stars shimmered with promise, each one a reminder of how much there was still to learn, still to discover. But this time she was not alone. Humanity and the seraphim stood together, ready to face whatever the universe had in store for them. As the ship moved silently through the stars, Ilanos felt a deep sense of peace. The future, uncertain and vast, was no longer something to fear. It was a frontier, a boundless horizon of opportunity, waiting for those bold enough to explore it. And this time, they would explore it together.